What's up? Brandon Lilly here. Just want to take a quick second to say thank you to Dan and Sparkle for having me out to Boss of Bosses 3. Couldn't have asked for a better time as far as the competition went for me. I went out there, stuck to my plan, hit every goal that I had. Main thing is I came home safe. I came home healthy, and I don't just mean in regards to my knee, from the inside out, my organs, my heart, blood pressure, cholesterol, everything is probably as good as it's been in the last 5 years. It's definitely better than it's been in the last 5 years. And I finally feel like the pieces of the puzzle are together, not only for me as a lifter, but for myself as an athlete and, just as a human being. The wheels are moving forward in all those areas, and I'm constantly trying to get better and learn more about my body, the way I respond to things, and trying to improve upon those things so that ultimately I can become a better lifter in a much safer manner than I had practiced before. And I'm doing those things, and Boss of Bosses was just the first real step for me to get back on the platform and to see how things are working out. And I feel really, really good about the future. So starting next Monday, the journey begins. And I thank everyone for their support. It's been unbelievable in the last few days, the messages that I've gotten, and just the amount of people that have made me feel like I'm still relative in the sport. That was something that, not that I would say I struggled with, but it's always good to feel wanted, and for people to reach out and just let me know that maybe the fact that I'm still pushing through an injury or whatnot kept them going through an injury, and so on and so forth. That's as good as it gets for me. So thank you all. And now to the point of the video, 2 minutes in, I get the question all the time, when should I start competing, or when should I do my first meet? And I try to relay this to younger lifters. The sport is so exposed to social media and, where you're ranked and all this, that, and the other. And it's almost like we remove the ability for people to enjoy the foundational part of the sport. There are a great many kids who start the sport, and they're under the right coaching, they're under the right advisement, and they progress the right way. But there are a lot of people who just practice the sport as an individual. They don't really have much guidance other than what they see on the internet, and all anyone ever talks about is the ranking and this, that, and the other, and how people aren't strong and this. What you need to understand is you crawl before you walk, and you walk before you run. And in no other sport do you start out at the top. You play baseball, you start in t-ball, and then you go to the minor leagues, little league, all the way up through senior league and on. And then, you become a professional if you're good enough. And that's very much the same advice that I would give anybody. I think as a young lifter, you need to step on the platform, because there are just things that you cannot learn, grasp, or understand about being a competitive lifter, and as a lifter overall, until you're judged to a standard. And when you get to the competition, you'll find that people are so welcoming and so helpful, that you'll learn more in one meet day than in an expanded amount of time just through training by yourself or training in a gym. I can think back to guys taking time to just show me how to wrap my knees properly, or how to do a wrist wrap, or hey man, you make sure you're drinking this much water, or make sure that you're eating these kind of foods versus this kind of food, how to take my warm-up attempts, how to pick my attempts. There's so many things that go on in a meet that you don't really understand until you get there and you go through it, and it's kind of a baptism by fire. You have to walk the walk before you can earn the stripes to call yourself a powerlifter. I truly believe that. Until you step on the platform, you're just a gym lifter. And I don't mean that to any disrespect, because some of the strongest men I've ever known didn't care about competing. And, they're absolutely some of the strongest people I've ever met, but I didn't consider them powerlifters because they didn't powerlift on the platform. So I encourage you to get out there and do it, and don't be ashamed of where you are. Where you are is all you can do today. And take me, for example, at Boss of Bosses. Certainly not my best day as far as numbers, You know, 300 and some odd pounds. Well, actually, as far as knee sleeves go, I'm 200 pounds behind my best total, but I was very selective about my temps. I had a plan going out there, and you know, I probably had a little bit more, but I'm not going to say that I had very much more. But now I have a clear idea of where I stack up, and I know that I have a lot of work to do. I know that I have areas that need definite improvement, and you know, that's what I compete for, to know where I'm at, as well as to compare myself to other individuals on that particular day. That's one thing that's been lost in the sport of powerlifting, is that, you know, so many guys just chase PRs and they'll hide out in their backyards and do competitions close to home. I have always been someone who wanted to know on a particular day, on the same bar, on the same platform, with the same judges, how I stacked up against the best in the world. And in my competitive career, I've had my ass kicked, and I've stood shoulder to shoulder with some of the best and won. And you know, that's how you know. I'm not going to say that totals are drastically different, but to me, the head-to-head competition brings out the best in me at the very least, but I think it brings out the best in everyone. And as we saw at Boss to Bosses 3, you had guys down to the wire in the deadlift calculating how many pounds to go for here or there, and that just that brings out the best of the sport. It brings out the best of the individual. So if you're a younger lifter, don't be afraid to get into the competition. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's part of it. That's what you are. You're a new lifter. You're a novice lifter. Those things are expected. And don't ever set yourself up for the disappointment of not doing something great your first time out. Trust me, some of my first meets were embarrassingly bad as far as mistakes that I made. You know, I was fortunate enough that I had some pretty okay numbers, but you know, I could have built upon those numbers much better had I been more experience and done things differently. But I learned, and that's how you do it. It's one foot in front of the other. So as a young lifter, I encourage you to get on the platform 2 to 3 times a year as a novice, and then as you get older, a couple of times a year. And then when you get up towards, you know, my age, I'm getting to be 35, and really all I'm chasing now is myself. I'm probably going to do 1 to 2 meets a year, and what I plan to do is one of those being a push-pull or a deadlift only or a bench only, kind of a preparation meet, and then 1 full meet a year just to allow me to keep chasing that bigger total, go to a bigger competition, go head-to-head with guys. But I really think the more you compete as a youngster, the better off you're going to be. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the support, and we start Monday, so I'll see you around.